So, Maria, let's start with this new transparency law. What exactly will this do, and what will companies have to do as a result?
Yeah, great question. So Governor Newsom signed the law SB 1162 last week, September 27th. And as we all know, California is the fifth largest economy in the world. So this is going to have tremendous impact because it's any company with 15 or more employees with even one employee in California. So that has a huge, huge ramification on tech. And so what it actually does is it requires companies to include pay ranges on job postings, as you said, starting January 2023, and report median and mean pay gaps and contractor pay to the state starting March 2023.
So you're out with a new report that shows employers, they're not ready.
Yeah.
How not ready are they?
We released this report today, so it's pretty fresh. And what we found is 2/3 of companies are saying that they are completely unprepared to post salary ranges. And I think a big part of that is because companies don't yet understand why they pay what they pay. And if you don't know that, that's obviously the first question an employee is going to come to you asking once they see those ranges public.
Why is that so tricky for companies to know why they pay what they pay? And even what they pay and where there are gaps?
Yeah, it's tricky because of the old way of doing pay equity analyses. So obviously, this is what we do. We're innovating this with tech, but the old way is to outsource it to a law firm. You get back a report once a year that just tells you your remediation or what you need to pay people to get out of the woods. And you learn nothing about the underlying policies or programs that are driving pay. So companies really need to start using analytics to figure out, are their pay policies and programs actually working as intended? If they say they pay for performance, for example, which a lot of companies say that, but very few actually do.
So let's take Alphabet and Meta, for example. What would this mean for companies like them, which compete with each other for talent, historically are known for paying folks quite well, but like most companies probably have pretty big pay gaps?
Yeah, so the first thing they're going to have to do is get on top of their pay gaps, because starting pay is the biggest factor in any pay equity analysis. So if you have issues, or as a company, if you have a philosophy of start low, stay low, or pay top dollar to the best negotiator, that's going to very quickly catch up with you from a pay equity and median pay gap perspective. You're going to start to have disparities that you can't rule out are because of something like gender, race, or ethnicity. So the way that would address this as a Google or a Meta or an Apple is to make sure you're not doing pay equity analyses just once a year, but you're looking at this constantly as you hire, as you, God forbid, have to lay people off. Are you having adverse impact? Are you letting bias creep in? Because bias requires discretion. It's oxygen. And there's so much discretion in these decisions. And the only way to avoid that is to really use data and analytics to make sure you're informing those and guiding those decisions well.
Do you think this is going to impact the labor market? And if so, how? Especially given that we are, potentially heading into a recession.
I think the interesting thing will be to see how this impacts competitiveness in tech talent. So one of the maybe unintended benefits of what's happening with the market right now is we're going to see a little bit of loosening as it relates to that fierce competition for engineers in tech. And so with pay transparency on top of that, now you're going to see sort of that competitive nature of everyone trying to one up each other on the salary and the packages. Maybe that will ebb a bit because there will be transparency. And so folks will understand exactly what their opportunities and offers are and will be. So it might make the talent race a little bit easier to manage.
And last quick question. I'm just curious what you're seeing in the labor market right now. We've heard about, the Great Resignation, and then we also heard that was kind of been on pause. Employees aren't necessarily moving around right now because there aren't so many choices out there. How would you describe the state of play right now?
Yeah, I think we keep sort of groping around for a term that gets at the essence of what's happening, whether it's the Great Resignation, the Great Reshuffle, quiet quitting. All of it to me is just a massive reflection that we've seen a total fracturing of trust between employees and employers. And so the way to fix that is to really take workplace equity and the tidal wave of pay transparency that's coming at employers through some of these laws and dive right into it, because that is really the way to rebuild the trust that has broken between employers and employees, that I think is kind of a reflection of all these terms that we keep hearing.